any money. You need someone who's actually trying to help people. And that's very difficult to find.
Well, Joe, the problem is, going back to the original point, is everybody wants to take care of their environment at an instinctive level. Doesn't mean we do. And a lot of this sounds reasonable.
We don't feel it.
Exactly. We don't feel it, like you said, consciously, though it is affecting us. The problem is the elites are going to use this to totally enslave us and do a lot of bad things. And I indict those elites and say, you know, your end doesn't justify your means, and you're doing more damage to the earth than the fake carbon taxes you're pushing, when carbon is what plants breathe.
Right. Well, you know what I say, Alex? Those elites are just people. This is the whole thing about this whole idea of elites and the impoverished and the proletariat. You know, what people are is just people. And these people, if they truly are manipulating world populations into wars and ruining lives and doing it all for profit, and that they don't care, they can't be happy. Those guys aren't having any fun. Those elite dudes, they could use the advice that someone would give them if someone told them to just relax and have fun and stop being a douche. The
problem is, it's not just about making money. It's about the power, and they're in such power positions, they've got
materialism. It's about possessing things.
Well, they're also psychopaths. I mean, see, you're not a psychopath, Joe. You care about your surroundings because at an instinctive level, your genetic engineering is correct, and so you realize what happens to others affects you. You feel it and feel bad, but you're designed like that because hurting your tribe hurts you. There
are jobs and positions in this world where it pays to be a psychopath. You know, and if you're going to be a politician, that's, it really does pay for you to be at least a little detached from the things that you're going to do.
Exactly.
I mean, if you really are planning, and I'm not saying that this is how it went down, but this is a big speculate. This is a thing that people speculate about all the time. That was this war created for profit? And if this war was created for profit, some people had to make that decision that it is worth X amount of lives for X amount of dollars. I mean, that is crazy. If that's a real decision that someone's making.
Well, Joe, you're right, but they issue the currency. It's not just about making profits. It's about consolidating land, getting raw resources that they then peg to their fiat currencies. But, I mean, we have PNAC government documents where they admitted it was about oil and power and no-bid weapons contracts. I mean, the military will...
Well, if that's the case, it certainly pays to be a psychopath in that job, right?
Absolutely.
How do you fix a psychopath? That's the real problem. I mean, with a normal person that's trying to be ambitious and is maybe cutting corners and doing the wrong thing, you can explain to that person karma. You can explain to that person that we all really just the same. We're just living lives through different circumstances, and you can explain that to them. But can you explain that to a psychopath? Is it even possible? And if you have kids and you raise them in that, that environment, that ruthless, future politician environment, I mean, can you fix that?
Well, that's a good point you just made. That's central. This system is raising kind of a psychopath light.
Oh, yeah, there's a reason why all this skull and bone stuff, everybody's like, that's silly. What is there, the little clubs that they join? There's a reason why that's real. But what we don't understand is there is an entire culture, like an ancient culture in this country.
Wow.
It's been around for a long time. Of people who are raising their children to be in power. And there's families that have been in power forever. And the fact that people want to call that a conspiracy theory or how much evidence do you have to see before you want to look into it?
Joe, stay there. Let's come right back after this quick break and talk specifically about that. That's an amazing point. Stay with us. And central figure, the host, of course, Fear Factor, and then News Radio before that. So many other hats. The host of the commentator for Ultimate Fighting Championships just did a big one this Saturday that I know most of my office went to. I've got a new addition to the family, so I couldn't go. Wish I could have. But Joe Rogan joins us. My websites, of course, are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Joe, flesh that out, because that's a point I've made before but rarely do, and it's so central. How you have lots of even low-level petty elites that think they're members of the elite. They're trained to hate the general public, that the public's to be fed on. And when you get to skull and bones level and royalty level, It's even admitted in mainstream books that they train them to be cold-blooded and enslave the public and to have this us against them mentality. And they're really they're breeding almost a psychopathic view into them, and that's what the mock sacrifices are about and the devil worship is about. It's how an old guy sends his son to have his peers induct him into a predator's mindset. Your take on that, Joe?
Well, I mean, I think if you are the type of person that wants to be, an elite, if you're the type of person that really wants to, to run things in this world and manipulate people and make money, I mean, you have to be a psycho. And your kids are going to be psychos too, because you're going to raise your kids. If you keep them in that environment and you have your kids grow up and seek political offices and seek influential positions in society and in business, I mean, you're going to develop psycho kids for sure. Those kids are going to want to be like daddy, ruthless daddy who raised them and taught them how to do it. And they stay together, and these groups and these families that have been around, they've been around for hundreds of years doing this. I mean, it's not like it's hard to follow. You can see the bloodlines. You can see, like, all the memberships in these little weird skull and bones things, and the fact that they all go to similar schools, and, and they're in similar clubs, and, it's kind of crazy.
In fact, the eugenicists over 150 years ago, and now this has been in the BBC and all of the news, they believe, there was just a big report out of a British university last week, that the elites are their own species because they've been intermarrying for, quote, aggression, intelligence. They already believe they're another species. And see, Joe, they're going to use the environmental movement. I need to send you my new film, Endgame.
Wow, that's a really interesting theory, sort of like a different breed, like different breeds of dogs.
That's what they say. They say that by like being with like, they say through social Darwinism, the fact that they are in control gives them a right to kill, destroy, poison us because it's the survival of the fittest. And now they're going to use the environmental movement, which sounds reasonable, to set up a world government and then have the orderly bioweapon release and kill 80 to 90% of us.
That's a really interesting thought. The thought that they're a separate species now, or at least a separate race. Because I have had a lot of dogs. I love dogs. And I've had pit bulls. And they're great dogs with people. But, man, they're so dangerous with other animals. They're like, I had one dog, she killed two of my other dogs. She would fight to the death. She just wanted to fight. She was crazy, no matter what it was. If you pissed her off, you did something wrong, she wanted to fight. And I've had her since she was a baby. I rescued her when she was 11 months old from the dog pound. That dog is bred for that. That's in her system. And the way they made pit bulls is by breeding them for 1,000 years. I mean, who knows how long they've been doing it, but for hundreds of years at least. The most aggressive dogs. And they bred a terrier with a larger bulldog, and they got this dog. This was a medium-sized psychotic animal. And then once they got the breed, what they did was they made sure that they only kept alive and breeding the ones that would fight to the death. Any dog that would quit, they would kill him, and they wouldn't let him breed. They would cull him from the breed. So the ones that they got out of that are this pure genetic specimen of just a destroyer.
That's it, and that's the New World Order, brother, and they're in control of the bioweapons. They brainwashed the police, and they openly say they're going to kill us.
Even though people like